Welcome to Automotive Innovators Unplugged, spotlighting the innovators, disruptors, and forward thinkers shaping the future of automotive retail.
Each week, we'll dive into the tools, tech, and strategies that help dealers win in today's market and get a little personal with our guests.
Introducing our host, Sean Kelly, #1 Amazon bestselling author, Special Operations Combat Veteran, and CEO of Car Motivators, known in automotive as the CarBiz Coach.
And JP Burkemper, automotive AI expert and co-founder of Vinsight, helping dealerships retain customers with state-of-the-art artificial intelligence.
Now it's time for the show. What is going on, Auto Innovators Unplugged followers? This is Sean Kelly, CEO of Car Motivators, the CarBiz Coach here, hanging out with my co-host JP.
Hey guys, co-founder of Vinsight here, your dealership's automated customer retention tool.
And we are really excited about this week's special guest. We have an absolute amazing automotive innovator. I just can't even explain how successful this fellow has been in the auto industry and with his SaaS company. And he's created some truly unique innovations that are tied to something that's been a big topic in the auto industry for the last few years, digital retailing. I would like to introduce Steve Zabawa. Steve, say hi to the Automotive Innovators followers.
Hello, team. Appreciate everybody that's out there on this podcast. So I'm Steve Zabawa from Montana.
Before WebBuy, before Rimrock, who was Steve Zabawa? And what moment or experience set you on your path to being both a dealer and then a tech founder?
Well, you have to go to your low, right, before you get in the car business. So I was in the real estate business and back in 1986. I'm going to date myself a little bit here. But I went broke on my third project. It was bad timing. The barrel of oil went from $32 down to $9, and nobody was buying vacation property. And so I had to close the doors, bring my 2 kids and wife over to Phoenix, Arizona, sat around moping for a couple of months. And then my wife said, "Is there any chance you're going to get a job?" And so I looked in the newspaper and there's a big Toyota ad, and I went down there. It was Keys Toyota, in fact. And went over there and interviewed and on Bell Road and got hired after 3 interviews and then started selling cars. And that was 38 years ago. I met my partner in crime, John Soares, at the same time. He was in the same training class. And 6 years later, after selling cars, managing, financing, doing all that at a couple of dealerships, had a chance for John and I to buy a car dealership in Montana with $1 down. And after 5 years, we ended up owning a Pontiac Cadillac GMC truck store. And we bought 10 since then and been very blessed as far as the car business in Montana.
Steve, are you from Montana then?
Now, I grew up in Omaha, Nebraska, 21 years there. And then I broke out and went to Jackson Hole to be a ski bum for when I graduated out of college. And then that led me down to Texas and got in the vacation ownership business. So we've climbed a lot of mountains, my kids and I got that because I went to Jackson Hole when I was 21. I highly suggest everybody do that when you get out of college or before you go into the real world.
The Grand Tetons, man, they are amazing and definitely need to be on everyone's bucket list to visit. There's no doubt. Your story is, I had no clue you went through that. And we had met before in the past, different automotive conferences and things. And I've met a couple of your team members over at WebBuy. And I didn't know that you worked way up from the front line, from the sales floor, man. That's inspiring. I'm one of those guys too. And I have a lot of respect for you for doing that. And that's crazy that you transitioned from real estate to the car business and found so much success there. Congrats on that.
Yeah, I've been really blessed. I met a good guy named Bert Arlen that was willing to finance us, and let the rings out. Then he sold us a bunch more real estate as well as dealerships over the years. So you meet some really key people in your time in the industry. And then in my case, I do like tech. So I've always been kind of cutting edge on whatever the tech is to sell a car. And then for the last 20 some years, I've been building technology, front end solutions to quicker, better, faster car deals, seamless. And that's what WebBuy's taken me 10 years to build. And it's finally just at the very end stage of being built, which is a transactional digital retailing tool versus a lead getter digital retailing tool. It's kind of a difference. So it takes a lot more effort to make it actually work to sell a car to the penny, get it financed, get a real offer, and hook up all the best companies in the industry as well as all the lenders and the manufacturers. So it's been an act of love to get it to where it's at, but it's at a lot of money. But it's finally there, and we're right in the process of finishing out all the integrations into the DMSs, which is really cool. now that it's built. And then our back end tool is going to replace the Darwin piece. So we'll be able to actually, sell a service contract dynamically priced and then communicate with whoever your F&I producer is, and then just make things happen seamlessly all the way, including digitally signing the contracts.
That's really cool. Of course, very tenured in the automotive space, but it wasn't enough. You wanted to get into tech. So, of course, when, as a tech founder myself, Steve, you kind of notice a specific pain point or frustration in what you're doing. And that's kind of maybe gives you that light bulb moment. So, was there something like a pain point or frustration in automotive that made you say, no one else is fixing this, so I guess I'm going to do it myself?
Yeah, actually, I had Jason Blair, the guy that was doing my alternate finance business, and he came to me after a year or two working with me, said, Steve, I got to open up 6 different applications to do one car deal. I said, I'm getting tired of that. Is there any way we could put that together? And that was 20 years ago, but I'm just happy to report that it's actually together finally. And there's very few companies. There were about 40 of us that started this mission with Brian Pash and all the teams out there. And it's come down to just a few that are left, Laudify, myself, Car Now, and a couple others that are actually trying to get a transactional omni seamless system done. And I'm happy to say that I think we're the farthest along in the whole thing. We've got 8,000 different customization pieces built over the last 7 years. And so people from the consumers, the dealers, the finance companies, the manufacturers of assets to do this or do that or do this. Everybody's got a bright idea, but we've actually been implementing each one of those. And I'm happy to report we just hit 8,000 of them. So we're the most customizable digital retailing tool in the world, we believe.
Wow. If I may inject a question around that, it's as a software leader, and how do you figure out that right balancing act between this is what we know the software needs to do, and this is the vision for our software, and feature requests from users? How do you find that right balance there? Because you can build out a lot of features and go a lot of different directions, and so how do you know when to stay focused and when to build a feature? I'm curious on that.
Well, the good news is my team's been together for the full 8 years. I gave about 20% of the company to my key managers and developers and support people. So they've hung in there with me trying to get this thing to the next step. So, and they're all car guys and car women. So I think because we're dealer built, dealer centric, we know what the difference is and what the end result's going to be. And there's been a lot of painful steps that we've had to take that we could have done a shortcut or just avoided it, but it would never actually work for the consumer or the lender or the manufacturer or, all the dealer. So we've taken the extra step to do it right. We've got one page, everything works on one page, all the modules come in, bounce in and out, and it is truly seamless. And it actually produces a transparent quality car deal. So we've got 8 brands on there now, and it's really coming together.
Well, it's interesting that you decided to take the path to digital retailing, and you did it so far in advance. I think you started way ahead. Like your web buy, I think, was ahead of its time. And it's interesting how, especially after COVID, you would have thought that so many more would have adopted digital retailing. And there's definitely, from the dealers we coach, there's this need, like customers are constantly asking to do all this stuff online. But it does seem like dealers are still convinced that you can't make as much profit if you are too transparent online and you give away cars and you can't be. So anyways, I guess what I'm wondering is, when did you decide that digital retailing was not optional and this is the future? What clicked for you there? And then on the other side, how come the other digital retailing companies are falling off and you're succeeding?
Well, I think I know what the right thing and the end result's going to be, so I do know that. So I'm focused on that. And that is a transactional, transparent, clean, quick, efficient process that maximizes gross profit from all angles, finance, reserve, service, contract, sales, everything else, cuts the fat out of there that you don't need to have in the sales process. And quite frankly, we're doing it both ways right now. We give our customers, they can do it either way. They can do the traditional way, or they can do a web buy deal, an easy car deal. It's their choice. So from what I've seen, trying to work with car dealers and auto groups, and just about everybody across the country knows us and has had and used us or is using us right now. And they're still fighting it so hard in the dealership. They cannot let go of the old way of selling a car. traditional way. They just can't do it. They can't let it go. And quite frankly, the digital retailing tools can't actually, for the most part, accomplish what they want. So right now, web buyers replaced like Vin Solutions desking. So we use Vin Solutions, but our digital retailing tool is not the Cox tool, right? We use web buy, but then you cannot have a separate desking tool, so we replaced that. So we have NetDesker. So we do it better than a regular desking tool. And we use Market Scan in the background to help us really nail it. And it's just so powerful. It's incredibly good. And we can line item veto anything. You can change whatever the price is, and it automatically shows up on whatever their device that they're looking at immediately. So what I've had to do is replace all those 6 or 7 things that car dealer does, to make a car deal. I've got those all built into WebBuy seamlessly now. And we use JD Powers, we use AuctionNet, we use Odessa, Manheim, we use 700 Credit, we use, all these great suppliers of APIs. We're using those to make it seamless. And it's taken a long time to take all those billion-dollar companies and get them all on the same page and build a tool. So that's where we're at now, and it actually works, and it's just absolutely gorgeous. It's beautiful looking also, and I cannot take the credit for it. My son, who's the product manager, and then Steve Dimick, who's the CTO, they've been on it for 10 years, and they have built a really nice, sophisticated tool with the end result. So we're just at the very beginning of our sales process, and we're just looking for dealers that really want to digitally retail a car seamlessly and give that great experience. Look at Carvana. They've gotten some traction any way you want to look at it. They bounce back, right? And then now they're there and their tech is pretty good. They use Impel for all their spins and so forth and the rich merchandising, and they've done a nice job. And so they increased their sales by 50% this year. So they were at 400,000. Now they're doing 600,000. And then you got to look at CarMax. They've done digital retailing inside their showroom forever. And they've done a nice, seamless, transparent, quick price, one price program. And they sell 800,000 cars a year. So between the two of them, 1.4, and then 1.4 more is Tesla. Tesla's digitally retailing their cars. So you can't just, let this stuff slide anymore. You need to have a company that can actually do it. There's 1 or 2 or 3 maybe tops that are out there that can do it. Everything else is a lead getter. And that's what most dealers, like I was talking to a guy, I don't want to expose him, but he's the sharpest guy. He knows everything inside and out. He just went through a demo yesterday. What did he say? This is too much. I'm not looking for that. I just want this and this and this. Can I turn that off? Can I turn this off? And the beauty of WebBuy is that you can do it any way you want. If you want it all on, turn it all on. If you want half of it on, you can turn half of it on. You can put in all your rate spreads, your pricing, everything is customizable. And that's the difference between us and everybody else is they're cookie cutter. They don't allow that type of customization. So that's why we got 8,000 pieces. And that's what's going to differentiate us as we go when the dealers really want it. And I'm waiting for that moment. So give me a call, will you?
Yeah, no, it's really interesting how you've used not just your automotive background, but your teams. And these are real car guys and gals that are in the trenches selling the cars every day. And I'm guessing every time they see something that could make the system better, they're passing that along to your son. He updates it, and then you're working to build all these amazing integrations. So that way it's like the consumer tools, the same as what the dealer people use. And now you're bringing those things together and it creates that seamless flow. That I'm excited to get a demo from you. I haven't seen your software in 24 months and I can't wait to see the updates. And speaking of your dealer background, talk to you a little bit more about that.
I had something that popped, but you mentioned is, Steve, what are your thoughts? I'm just curious to hear what your thoughts are about Carvana and the acquisitions that we're seeing them make. A lot of Chrysler stores being picked up. What do you think about that?
I think it's great for them. I think it's not good for a car dealer, traditional car dealers, because they've actually got the tech and they've got the system set up and the people and the delivery system to deliver these cars nationwide quickly and efficiently. And the people that don't want to mess with the traditional way of buying, they're going to push that button. And I think they already became the #1 Chrysler store out there just in, the 6 months that they've really been involved in this process. So I think that's very exciting. And that's how I see Easy Car is that I've got 8 or 9 brands and they've got one right now. And, but they've got the used cars and they've got the system set up. So we're going to go after, we want to be a true competitor. So I'm buying a lot more brick and mortar and improving those stores through technology and my people, processes, procedures, things that I've learned over the last 32 years owning car dealerships.
And what I like about what you're doing is every dealer is going to tell you that they have their own, unique process that's special. Sounds like with yours, there's some customizable stuff in there. I wonder, you've seen hundreds of processes, I'm sure, owning, working in dealerships. In your experience, what actually is special and what's just noise?
What's just noise? All right. I think all car dealers in general really want to hire the best people that are available, get them to become committed to that particular brand and that store, and get them there to be there for the long term. Because the secret is continuity, great customer service. I think, most of the dealers that I deal with, they're all 4.7s, 4.6s, 4.5s on the Google reviews. Every once in a while, you'll see a 4.8 like Jeff Glansman up in Hatboro, Pennsylvania. They've used that software. And they're trying to go digital. They work everything initially on the digital retailing tool, but then because the tools do not go into their dealer track DMS per se, smoothly, they desk their deal in that instead of desking their deal in the digital retailing tool. So what's going to separate us is that we actually do the whole thing in one seamless process and we don't hop around. So I think at the end of the day, that's the amount of deals that we do online as well as in the showroom, or a combination will far exceed any competitor that we've got. So I think that's my secret sauce when it's all said and done. It's the tech combined with the good selling skills that we've implemented in our organization and trained people on. I've got Ken Kingstead. He's one of the greatest trainers in the country as far as the phones. Got Call Team 6 as our part of our company now. Check that out. It's they're on fire. They're going to actually help Amazon with A to Z sell more Hyundais and so forth. And they're already part of my organization. So you have to go out and continue to look for the best tech. You got to look for the best people, and you got to bring them all together and get them to work together. So I just took over this one store. They were doing 25 a month, and it was owned by a large auto group, but they didn't have their heart in it. And I just did 121 this month with that store.
Franchise or independent?
It's a franchise deal. It's actually Chevy, Ford, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram truck. It's got all three. So, and then I took over another store 90 days ago with the Easy Car mode, and they were doing 50 to 60 a month, and we just did an average of 100 the last 2 months. So we got significant growth going on, and we do some big super sales out them also. So I'm taking advantage of a lot of the traditional ways to reach customers, but then we're piling a ton of money into the digital space to attract the right type of customer for the Easy Car piece.
And you mentioned the A to Z with the Amazon. You guys are working together?
No, I'm not, but the Call Team 6 team is working on that, yes. And they've got some AI in there, a follow-up process, texting. They've got a nationwide phone room with humans, but then they're using tech in there, doing some amazing things. The combination to get the customers back in the door and follow up with them on a very, very successful basis.
Nice.
Well, circling back to your tech company, I think one of the hardest things on the planet to do is starting a tech company in automotive and making it successful. And as a coach, I've been blessed and honored to get to work with companies like Vinsight here at JP and Drive Centric, who, they just sold for 10 figures. And it's really interesting to see that journey from startup to, massive success. And people on the showroom floor, they just have no clue how hard it is to be a vendor in the auto space until they are a vendor. Then it is a journey. So I'm sure you ran into some major challenges, and this isn't like woe is us, right? We're not playing the world's smallest violin here, but I'm sure you ran into major challenges as you've been building WebBike. Can you talk about a few of those and how did you push through them?
Wow, you got to have patience like nobody else. You have to have tremendous good lawyers, of course, and you have to go and work with the different people. And what happens is that you get a great deal going along, and you spent, like a year and a half on it, and you spent millions of dollars to get the thing put together. And then that particular partner decides to go a different direction because the person at the head went and did change companies, right? And there's so many guys that get burned in the tech business where they put all their eggs in one basket with one manufacturer, and then at the end of the day, like eShop, the manufacturer changes game. They get bought out or something happened at the top, and they said, we're not going to go there anymore. So it's really been a journey to try to really find the best people in the industry, get their confidence that you're competent in what you do, have the money to back it up, and then actually pull it off and build it and integrate with that company. Because almost everybody has to do that. It's just normally like 5 or 10 pieces of things that you're gluing together to get it to work and then produce that better experience, whatever that may be, as well as developing your own code and everything and then protecting it and everything. But I'm glad I've got these car dealerships that allowed me to go through these rough times and make it, because in COVID, it was super simple. You just people knew where I was at. They called me and they said, slam these 27 stores on, put these 3 stores on. Well, and then the last couple of years, most people have just tried to streamline their digital retailing. It's been a different experience. So you really got to fight for the deal. So bottom line is I'm going directly to the consumer with my technology rather than with the dealer as much. And it's really paying off. The dealerships are really kicking out some money. So I'm really excited about that. I think I got a good strategy going forward. If the dealer wants it, let's do it. But I really want to work with the dealers that want to do a true omni transactional digital retailing experience, and because I can show them the way to go and get it done for them.
That's cool, Steve. You've been doing this 8 years, you said?
We've been building it 8. I got the idea 10 years ago, as far as a guy named, my co-founding partner was Tom Murray. He's out of Chicago, and he used to be with the warranty group, or now they're Assurance. So he was really coming out of the service contract business and was a car dealer also. And we got together and had this idea of being able to sell a car in 20 minutes on an iPhone at 11 o'clock at night with 2 thumbs. And so that's been our vision, and we haven't stopped. Most people got the definition of digital retailing is 100 different things to 100 different people. Okay. Ours has been, let's get the end result where it can actually do it and be where you can fund the contract correctly. You can buy the trade-in correctly. You can get the payoff correctly. There's a lot of complications in a car deal. And if you don't do it right, you create a lot of problems for a car dealer, a lot of heat, and we don't want heat. So we've worked it out where we don't create heat. And whatever that car dealer's doing, however they're selling those Hondas at that store in Chicago, we can do that online for them. And then we can mimic it in the showroom also, or a combination.
Well, yeah, it sounds like, from what you've been saying, it sounds like you guys are having a ton of success over an 8-10 year span, even from conception. I've been doing mine for 6 years. And I remember my time when I just really realized, okay, we're on to something. Do you know that specific moment for you at WebBuy when you really felt like it wasn't just an idea, but a real transformation for what you guys were trying to accomplish and what other people in your space, car dealers, are trying to do?
Yeah, it's actually Brian Pash gave us an award for sticking it out. I can't remember the name of the award, but he said, you've been in there, you've been taking your hits, and you just keep on trucking. And I thought that's when I kind of knew, okay, I'm on the other side. And then now I just need to really tighten it up and plow ahead. So, and then a year ago, I got this idea in January, this year actually, that I need to go directly to the consumer with our product. The dealer's a little slow on the uptake. I said, that's okay. Just let them, at some point in time, they're going to come to me. But in the meantime, let's just do the best job we can with the consumer, because I go up the ski lift here in Big Sky and people ask you, what do you do? And I tell them about WebBuy. And 9 out of 10 just say, I can't wait till you get it done. Where can I go to get it? And I say, what's done now? And da, 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 da. And so they're super excited about it. And I go to 10 different dealers, and there's probably 1 or 2 out of the 10 that really want to do something with a true omni transactional digital retailing tool. So it's just starting to come. I'm finally getting the calls, progressive dealers, early adopters call it, that really want to do a transactional deal, not a lead getter.
This is a tactical question for someone like you. Steve, I'm thinking to myself, where you're at in your career and in your life, you're winding down, you're thinking about retirement, spending more time skiing. but you're obviously having fun skiing while buying more dealerships, while building a massive SaaS company that's both on the B2B and B2C side. So help our listeners and me understand today, where do you focus most of your time and energy? Is it 50-50 between Rimrock and Wet Buy, or does it shift based on the season?
It's actually all one thing now. So with Easy Car, so my total focus is to sell as many cars as I can and buy as many car dealerships as I can. So I'm in buy mode and sell mode. I'm working harder than I ever have. I'm working smarter than I ever have, but I mix it up. I've got 12 grandkids, 7 kids, 5 spouses. So I make sure I continue to do that really well. I got a lot of commitments at church and stuff that I do that. And then at the same time, really work hard with all the key people. The secret is I've got all these contacts over the last 38 years, and they make it easy for me because I can bring good people to the table and then have them take over these dealerships as well as build the software and bring it all together. So that's my job, is to delegate and hire the best. And that's what I'm good at.
Steve, are you delegating while on the gondola?
Absolutely. Yeah. There you go.
That's awesome.
What are some of the, if you don't mind, practical, what are some of the ways you communicate with your network, and what are some of the personal systems you use for your day-to-day task management and stuff?
Yeah, WhatsApp is, you're probably familiar with that. That's working really good. So I've got everybody reporting in on that as a group text, basically. And that's really working good. And they send up the, what they did for the night and any color that they want as far as the deal. But it's really brought all my different dealerships together nicely. So that's one thing we're doing. As far as communication, texting, of course, you can get so much done quick, boom, boom, boom. And then I got my cell phone on. I don't get that many calls. You know if you're managing it right, if you're not getting a lot of calls. But then I show up, I go into the different dealerships and then just kind of feel the flavor of what's going on there. And then I hunt out whatever the issues may be, bring them together and do a good job of bringing the teams together, because you got to have teamwork, and it's got to be a genuine teamwork, and it's got to be genuinely trying to help the customer for the right reasons. And then, getting them through the process as quick as you can. And then, of course, improving your parts, your fixed operations, your service contract business, your insurance business, all the other things that are tied into the car business. So we're trying to maximize all angles of every car dealership we own, as well as utilizing the technology and making that really good. So we're just at the very beginning stage of transactional deal. We want to make a difference over the next decade. So we'll see how it all goes.
Dave, looking at the industry right now, there's a lot going on. You could rewind the last, I think you said 38 years you've been in doing this, and it seems like things are changing, but a lot of people are saying that, gosh, it's going to change over the next 5 years than it has in the last, 38. But do you think dealers are underestimating the speed of change, or are they maybe overestimating?
Great question. I don't have that crystal ball, but all I can tell you is that in general, the dealers want to improve and continue to get better at what they're doing. And I believe they are giving a better experience. And by these different auto groups buying out all the small guys that had their heads in the sand, you really truly need to be on top of your game, with your type of product as well as my product, and you better be dang good at it. Whatever you're using, you better implement it correctly and get after it, right? So I don't know. That's a tough question. It's just like this AI revolution, right? They're saying that in 5 years, right? The average human may be able to live to 120 because of all the improvements in how you get taken care of medically. And so if that plus, and I kind of consider digital retail AI, we're using a lot of AI within it to make it quicker, better, faster, and transparent and accurate. So I do believe there's going to be a revolution now over the next 5 years. I believe there's going to be that. I think the dealers that are on top of their game will win at the end of the day. So it's going to be very interesting. And then the vendors are a very important part. And there aren't very many vendors in the industry, Drive Centric, good for them. And the other ones that, the Roadsters of the world and others that have capitalized on having one of the big guys either buy them up or, partner up or whatever the deal is. So I'm not really interested in that. They're interested in taking this myself nationwide and then utilizing our tech. So we'll see what happens.
And if we all start living to 120, that's more cars to sell to more of it. We're gonna need more cars. We gotta stay ahead of it, right?
Oh, that's a great point, JP. That's right. That's right.
You know, I was sitting next to a guy a fellow best-selling author. He wrote a book called Dude, Where's My Flying Car? We were coming home from NIADA. I just met this fellow on the plane for the first time, and he was talking to me about how flying cars are a thing, and there's companies all over. It's just, to me, I'm thinking back to when Microsoft Sync came out. It was like the first Bluetooth connection for customers to connect to their Fords and their Lincoln. I remember how I was selling cars at that time, and customers were just, it was like so easy to sell because it was like latest and greatest tech, right? And that was Microsoft Sync, and that was in '04. And now here we are, and now there's flying cars and all sorts of other self-driving cars, whatever. You're a very forward thinker, Steve, much more than most. And I guess I'd love to pick your brain on where do you see, with all these opportunities coming, where do you feel like the biggest opportunities are over the next 3 to 5 years in retail, and who's at most risk of missing it?
Well, great question. I don't really have an answer for you, Sean. I wish I had a crystal ball for you, but I do believe you better be dang good at tech. You better actually get it implemented. You better be with the best vendors. And then you need to be able to spread your costs over multiple stores. So the single operator on a single store is slowly becoming a thing of the past, right? So these auto groups, the public companies, the private equity, there's so much money in the game right now. And they have extreme pressures to sell lots of cars with good grosses and run places right. And so I think overall it's going to become more and more professional and owned by, the whatever the auto group is or the public group. I see that there's definitely a piece of that we have to factor into this whole thing. And then we got pressure from Tesla. We got pressure from Rivian. We got pressure from Carvana, CarMax, and these guys are trying to steal our business, and they're doing it through technology in the most part. So, and I think we're a little behind the eight ball there, not only building our cars like a Tesla, but also being able to sell our cars correctly. So in my opinion, so I think you need the best digital retailing tool that works for car dealers where you take advantage of those 8 profit centers. And you need to make sure your tool is organized to do that, like WebBuy. And I think that's going to be a key thing at the end of the day, because you don't want to lose service contract sales. You don't want to lose your gap. You don't want to lose any of those things. Like Tesla, they don't take advantage of all those opportunities yet. They sell you the car, but it's a simple digital retailing tool, but they're not selling you a bunch of other stuff, like car dealers. So you take a tech play along with all the products that a car dealer makes their money with, and you put the two together seamlessly, then you're going to maximize it. I think you can save a lot of money. You don't have to have quite as many sales managers. You don't have quite as many finance managers, kind of like what CarMax has done. They don't have finance managers. They don't have sales managers. They cut, a lot of costs out that way. So I'm not suggesting we do that. I'm just saying, as a new car dealer, I still have those positions, but my desk manager can do 100 deals instead of 50 deals with good technology. So I think that's kind of where we're going in this deal. So you need to really streamline your processes, make them more cost efficient, but at the same time, maximize all your opportunities. And then that's hard to do with your software if you got 6 different pieces of software not talking to each other.
Yeah, good point. I was coaching a collections company the other day, and they were talking about how much the workload is at certain times of the month. They collect for buy here, pay here, and lease repair. And I was like, what are you all doing for your outbound calls? What software are you using? They're like, a telephone. I was like, wasn't that invented like 1800s? There's better stuff. So these are great insights there. What I'm hearing you say is like augmenting. You got to augment. You got to find ways to scale up human operations using the technology, or you're going to fall behind. Awesome insight.
Well, I just love that, because I think that it has been an issue in our space. Is there's all these different great technologies for what they do, but they don't talk to each other, and really bringing them in under one cohesive umbrella is really going to be a game changer, in my opinion. So, gosh, Steve, it's been awesome hearing that from you. Very progressive. I'm going to kind of lighten it up and just hit you with something fun, if you're okay with it. Wondering something about you and your work that might surprise people or even make them laugh.
Good question. As far as that work, I can tell you something at play. I love climbing mountains. So I climbed Denali and the Grand Tetons and so forth. I just flew by Everest when I went to India for a month, 2.5 weeks. you ever get a chance, you got to go to India just to get your eyes opened up over there. The Himalayas are just above in Nepal. So we went up there to Kathmandu with Bob Seeger and all that, and just had an amazing time flyby. But I would like to get up there and, get that Mount Everest climb. So that's a personal thing. As far as the company standpoint, I want to be the best, I want to be maybe not the largest, but I definitely want to be the best in this digital retailing space and really give Carvana and CarMax a run for their money.
Yeah, well, it sounds like you're well on your way there.
Steve, looking back at everything you built, led by your dealer group, what are you most proud of that maybe people don't see on paper?
Well, it's been, over the 32 years in Billings, Montana. I've trained so many people to go into so many different other industries and be very successful. So I've got a tremendous network of friends and family in Billings. When you employ thousands of people over the years, you just impact everybody, and in general, either you sell them a car or they have worked for you. So I think that's probably, and then I don't have too many enemies, so in general. And I'm trying to do the best we can to have a great, healthy family lifestyle in Montana for my employees as well as our families. So that's what I'm most proud for, known for it, and then proud of.
You have left quite an amazing legacy, and I know you've got so much more to do. And I for one, and I know JP is, we're excited to see what else you accomplish.
Steve, you just hit us with a lot of knowledge and a lot of, progressive thinking. So I'm just wondering, it's tough to kind of hear all this stuff and put a game plan in place. I'm just wondering, for the dealers listening here, what's one thing they should start doing today if they want to stay relevant tomorrow?
They need to offer a transactional digital retailing experience. They really do. They just can't continue doing lead getters and then bring them through the old way of doing business. I think that's too many people are flipping over to Carvana and CarMax because of that. And if you don't get anything, you said it earlier, Carvana just bought a Chrysler store and kicking ass with it. I mean, they have just swamped us immediately. So most Chrysler dealers are stalling out or having a difficult time right now. And then they're just winning big. So what's the difference? It's their way of doing business. And we need to, I'm not saying do the way they're doing the business, but you need to offer that experience if the customer wants it. And that's really important in my opinion. So offer both. That way you can go either way or a combination, but be there relevant in the space, whichever way that customer wants to buy the car.
So is it safe to say, look no further than WebBuy?
There's other good competitors in there, but we're the best. Yes.
Yeah. Awesome.
Well, I for one, I'm going to get a demo quite soon. Steve, you've been an amazing guest today. We are grateful for your time and your insights. We appreciate you here at the Auto Innovators Unplugged.
Thank you, Sean. Thanks for having me, JP. Great getting to meet you. You guys keep up the great work. This is awesome. Get the word out.